Hello, everybody, and welcome to my Little Rules Primer for Blood Bowl 2. I'm going to try and keep it fairly tight, but also cover the things you need to know if you want to know to jump in to my other companion series or a few videos with better knowledge. So right now, first thing is the coin toss. I won it here, so I'm going to pick offense just so I go first. The enemy first, well, the defense, regardless of who it is, always sets their order first, and then the offense kind of can respond to it. But what is Blood Bowl? Obviously, you can probably see, just kind of from the layout of it is football. Football with punching, where everything is decided by dice, basically. And as it is football, the goal is to get touchdowns. There's actually no field goals. And all touchdowns are just worth 1 point. So, and the way you do that is by rolling dice, either to kind of determine how well you can maneuver, or how well you can punch, or catch, or throw. Basically everything for football. And people are able to do that with different levels of skill depending on kind of who they are. Obviously, you can kind of make out one big outlier in my team here is leaning away so you can see his full card. Dozag Gutspitter here, the ogre. So all of my team boys, that's what they're called, have different stats. Dozag here has a movement rating, that's the MR, of 5, a strength of 5, an agility of 2, and an armor value of 9. So movement rating is how far you can go, and I can show you a little bit more once I actually confirm my setup here. Strength is how well you can fight. Agility is how well you can move around without getting tackled. And armor value is your ability to withstand injury if you do get hit. So let's just go ahead and confirm this basic setup as our opponents kick off here. And Blood Bowl, I like it. It's funny. There's just like some chaos. So there are events that can happen on kickoff and during other times, and this is one of them. I think, yeah, this was just letting us move, which I'm just going to skip for time purposes. So we go first as the offense, and since everything is decided with dice rolls, there is always an element of randomness to Blood Bowl, but you want to mitigate that risk because basically anytime you fail one of your attempts doing anything with one of your friends, it's a turnover, and you lose your turn, and it goes over to the other people, and that can really be pretty costly. So you try to do the things that are the least risky earliest in your turn, and then the most risky, and maybe even skip some of the super high risk ones at the end of your turn. You do have some rerolls here. This is top left there. A reroll, I have 3 of them currently. You start out generally with 2, and those reset every half. Now, what constitutes a half? That is also top left with the turn counter there, up to 8. So each side, offense and defense, gets, well, it could have a ball turnover. So I guess my team and their team gets 8 turns, so 16 total within a half, and then obviously 2 halves per game. So you can generally break down the things you can do into 3 buckets for the most part. You can move, which relates to that movement rating. So you can see this man here has a movement rating of 6, so he can go 6 little boxes, plus these with dice on them are another 2 that I could either do 1 or 2. And that is just risky, so you can see it says going for it at that point. If I fail that, then my turn is over and he falls down. So that's not great. So you can move. You can also do a little punch, as I just changed the camera angle here, and that brings up these dice, which I will then also bring up this little overlay over there. That, whoops, don't go anywhere, determines what you do when you punch them. And the higher your strength, the better you are at punching alone. Like my big guy gets 2 dice here, but this guy on his own gets 2 red dice because his strength is 3 and he's going against a guy whose strength is 4. And the red dice are very bad because the enemy gets to pick the outcome, which essentially skulls are usually bad except the little both down symbol. Some people can survive those a little bit better. The arrow is just a push, which just repositions them, but doesn't do much, and the others are knockdowns, which is what you really do want. So another thing with the kind of knockdown fighting mechanics is if you add friends in the same area, you can see now that there's +1 strength, and rather than 2 red dice, this guy has just 2 regular dice, and that is much better, and we can go with that. So this is the push, which I wouldn't really want, and this is a knockdown push, essentially, and then I determine where he goes. And I could decide to follow him, which would take me to his space, or stay. Doesn't really matter right now, because I'm not really playing, so I'm just going to stay. And you get these fun animations. With knockdowns, depending on armor value and strength, I kind of mentioned the aspect of getting injured. There is a chance whenever you get hit to be stunned, be knocked out, be injured. These are all least bad to most bad, or just straight up die. So it's kind of a crazy game. My turn's going to end here in 13 seconds. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip the orc's turn just so we can get it out of the way, and then I can wrap up with the last couple things you might need to know for a little bit better of a start. Okay, back to my turn. So one other thing about the kind of knockdown mechanics is that once per turn you can do a blitz, which involves moving and going to hit somebody, because right now this guy, there's nobody around him, he can't hit anybody. This guy, he's right next to him, he theoretically could hit people, but if I for some reason wanted this guy to get in, I would just try and do a regular tackle, and then this lightning bolt comes up, and that's the blitz. So I would be able to do both a move and a hit with this man on his turn. Only once, though. So that wraps up kind of the basics of that. There is also the aspect of trying to kind of get through people's defensives by dodging. So everybody has a tackle zone. You can kind of see that indicator with these boxes, these colored boxes, which everybody's tackle zone is just the immediate squares adjacent to them. So this guy here has his tackle zone at these yellow boxes, but it turns red here because it's overlapping with these guys, which makes it even harder to get through. So if I wanted to move to the side here with this guy, I would have to make a bunch of dodge checks, which I would never do anyway, but you can see that the percentage of success here going through there is even harder going through all of these tackle zones. So if I failed any of those dodge checks, that's again turnover, so that would end my turn and be very bad. And I think kind of the last thing is, of course, doing stuff with the ball, which even the ball has dice checks to pick up. So luckily I got the 67% there. And there is passing, but it is high risk, high reward. There is a chance both to, that you have to meet both to do the pass successfully and the catch. Honestly, this is even kind of a pretty high likelihood compared to what you usually get, because this guy's class is a thrower. But we can see what that looks like, and yeah, he messed it up. And there's a turnover. So that's kind of how you want to mitigate risk. Otherwise, you're going to be left with your pants down with a bunch of orcs. And there's a bunch of fun RPG elements to it. I guess that's kind of going a little bit beyond the rules, but you upgrade your friends over time. Hopefully they don't die. Can buy new people, upgrade your stadium and effects, and kind of get more rerolls and other things you can use to influence the game. Abilities beyond just the stats you have, but we can get into that a little bit more through the actual play. Hopefully that gives you a little bit better of an idea. I think anything else that comes up should hopefully be pretty understandable just from context and with all of that. And you don't have to hopefully know too much to enjoy it, because it's silly Blood Bowl fun. So there you go. I'm going to go play some as my men get destroyed.